Perek Tes, Halacha Beis, and Hilchos Tshuva. The Rambam begins with Mosdes, Nisavu Kol Yisrael, and because of this, the desires of all of Yisrael, their prophets, their Chachomim, Uli Moetzes Mashiach, so they would be able to rest from the yoke of kingdom of the Goyim that doesn't let them be Yosek and Torah Moetzes as they would like. Now we'll go down to the Peirush. We're going to learn why the Chachomim wanted Moetzes Mashiach. What's the benefit of Melech HaMashiach? What's between Olam Hazeh and Moetzes Mashiach? And if there'll be a possibility of choice when Mashiach comes. And how great is the wisdom and the Nevuah of Melech HaMashiach. And finally, what the Rambam opinion is, what is Olam Haba? Because in Moetzes Mashiach there will be nothing other than the yoke of heaven, and therefore Nisavu Kol Yisrael Nevi'im Chachamim Moetzes Mashiach. All of Klal Yisrael, the prophets, the wise men, for Moetzes Mashiach. The Kippur Melech cites Sanhedrin. Rabbi says, Halavai ve'ezkel Rosheves B'Tzel Galilei Chamor Shel Melech HaMashiach. That it's interesting, the Chamor of the Mashiach is supposed to be a white Chamor, and here we find, Rabbi says, Halavai should be able to sit close enough to even be worthy of the dung of the donkey of Mashiach. The desire of the Moetzes Mashiach is Kedei sheyanuchu mimalchius she'einem anichen le'elasi b'Torah mitzvos kehoregen. So we should rest. We should be able to rest from the kingdoms that do not permit us to learn Torah and mitzvahs as is correct. Now, the intent is Malchus Roimi, that it's the final golus, and they don't permit you to learn Torah as you would like to. Malchus Roimi, you can say today, means the academic world which does not understand to accept the Torah as a study. We find in Brachos 17b, we want to do what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do, but what stops us is the yoke of Malchus. And we will find then a time of rest. There will be much wisdom. In those days of Mashiach, there will be much knowledge, and wisdom, emes, and truth. It's not necessarily that emes goes together with knowledge and wisdom. Shenema, as it says in Yeshayahu, Kimolo, as there is Hashem, because then the world will be full of knowledge of Hashem, like water to the ocean covers, meaning everyone sees only the top of the ocean, but there's obviously a lot more underneath it. The Naaman says in Yemiyo, Yilmedu oid ishas echiv ishas re'eu. No one will have to any longer teach his brother and his friend to know HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but everyone will understand on their own. The Naaman says, I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh, and the Yetzer will be bottled. In Brachos we find there are two things stop us from doing the Ratzon Hashem. So'er shebe'isa, which is the fermentation in the dough, which refers to the Yetzer Hara, and Shibud Malchus, which is Golus. And they both will be bottled in time of Mashiach. One is from inner within the person, one is from the outside. Now, we'll go further into what is Malus of the Melech HaMashiach. What's the greatness of Mashiach? That king who will arise from the seat of David. He will be wiser than Shlomo HaMelech. The Navi Gadol who kol Moshe Rabbeinu. Here the Rambam says he will be a great prophet, close to that attained by Moshe Rabbeinu. It says in Shayo, "V'nocho olav ruach Hashem," that it will reside upon Moshiach the wisdom of the spirit of Hashem. Chochma ubina ruach etzu gvura ruach das v'yirus Hashem ve'erichoi b'yirus Hashem. The word ve'erichoi b'yirus Hashem is something we'll discuss later. What does it mean that they will smell from him the yirus Hashem? We know that smell is associated with the soul. You can tell a person who's a tzaddik. Abdovad Amor Shoyel. Abdovad Amor asks a question. Kodesh Baruch said to Shlomo HaMelech in Malachim Aleph, Perek Gimel, Posuk Yud Beis, V'nasati l'chol lev chochma, I will give you a heart of wisdom and understanding that there was none before you and there will be none after you. And nobody will be as wise as Shlomo. And here it seems that Moshe Rabbeinu was higher, was greater. And he answers that Shlomo will be greater, and it sounds like it'll be greater than any other king after him. But Melech HaMashiach, through his efforts, will comprehend more. The wisdom, the inherent wisdom of Shlomo was greater. But the activation of wisdom is sometimes more, attains a greater level than the ability, than the IQ. That's what he says. He'll be Baal Chochma, somebody who's in charge of his Chochma, and he'll be able to understand more than Shlomo HaMelech. So we're going to see that there's three levels. There's Moshe Rabbeinu, there's Melech HaMashiach, and then Shlomo HaMelech is below that. Therefore, every person should learn. He will teach all the people, and he will show them the way of Hashem. And all the goyim will come to listen to him, as it says, it shall be at the end of days. It will the Har Habayis will be at the head of the mountains, and it will be uplifted, and all the goyim will come to it. That's how the pasuk continues. Many nations, and they'll say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of Hashem, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will go in his paths, because from Tzion shall come out Torah and Hashem Yerushalayim." The end result of all the reward is, and the best and the ultimate goodness that does not have any end to it or lacking, is Chayei Habo. The Moshe Mashiach is in this world, and the world will continue. Here's where the Rambam makes a statement that the world will continue, just that the kingdom will come back to Yisrael. And we learned in Perek Ches Halacha Daled that Chacham told us there's no difference between Olam Hazeh and Moshe Mashiach, only the yoke of kingdom alone. And we find this in Shabbos 63a. She'ein bein Olam Hazeh leMoshe Mashiach al Shir Malchus Bilvat. Now, this is found more so in Perek Beis Halacha Aleph, that a person should not think that when Mashiach will come, the nature of the world will change, or there'll be something new in the creation. This is why Yeshayahu says, and the wolf will lie down with the sheep, and the leopard with the goat will rest. And this is a simile. What does it mean? That Yisrael will be sitting complacently with the rest of the world, who are, by comparison, considered those who are wolves, who try to, who are carnivores, a nemer, which is another leopard, which is a carnivore, and it continues there. They in there, the Rambam continues that the Racham and Nevi'im wanted the Moetzes of Mashiach, not that we should be the rulers of the world, and not that we should rule over the Goyim, but rather we should be uplifted, not to eat and drink and be happy, but rather to study Torah and wisdom. And nothing will stop us, impede us, so that we will be Zeicher to Olam Haba, as we learned in Hilchos Tshuva previously. And in that time, there will be no hunger, no war, no jealousy, no competition. That the ultimate Teva, it will be these things. Everything will be found in plenty. Everyone will only be actively engaged in seeking out the word of Hashem, and therefore Klal Yisrael will be considered wise and knowing those things which today we cannot comprehend. And he brings further in Perek Beis, as it says, that the world will be full of the understanding of Hashem, Kimayim liyam machasim, meaning that Moetzes Mashiach, there will be so much knowledge and truth. And here he brings two additional psukim. That you won't have to teach others, they'll know themselves that Hashem hu Elikim, and I will remove your heart of stone. That in those days there'll be a lot of chokhmah and a lot of chokhmah and emes. Will a person be able to have choice in the days of Mashiach? The Ramban on the Pasuk Hashem Elokecho Zlevocho V'Zlevav Zarecho, and the Pasuk in Devarim 36 states, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your children. He states over there, since the creation, there was permission for a person to be a righteous or wicked. And the entire time that is so that person can choose and thereby receive reward, and Chas v'Sholom receive punishment. But when Mashiach comes, it will be natural to choose good. A person will not have those desires which are evil. That's what it means, because the desire is considered the foreskin of the heart. Desire is in the heart, and in circumcising the heart, it means that you won't have that desire. The person will return to that position that he was before the sin of man. The narration did with his teva what he wanted to do. He didn't have the rotzing of something and the opposite. As we explained in Bereshis, that the nature of person, Rambam writes, is that the nature of narration was to do only good. That is what Yirmiyahu says here. There are days that are coming, and I will renew my covenant with a new covenant with Beis Yehuda and Yisrael, not that which I did with the forebearers, because this covenant, at the end of days, will be, I gave the Torah in their midst, I will write it on their hearts. That means nullifying the Yetzer Hara. And therefore, it says further, and you will be like gods in a sense, and they will be, I will be to Klal Yisrael like a god, and they will be my people. And no one will teach others to tell them no Hashem, because all of them will have the knowledge of Hashem, from the youngest to the oldest, from the most lacking to the greatest. Now we know that the person's heart is essentially desires evil from his youth, but that will be changed at the time of Mashiach. And so we find Yechezkel, the Ramban continues, I will give you a new heart, a new spirit, And this new heart means the nature of the person, and the spirit means the desire. That's what our rabbis teach us. There will come years. The Kehillah says, Shlomo Melech says, there will come times, those years, when a person will say, what do I have to do any longer? What are these Yemos HaMashiach? I will not merit, nor will I have laws, because I technically, what stimulates a person is the desire for something. But rather, no, he will do it out of his nature. Yemos HaMashiach, so he's translating it, there's nothing in there that is associated with me. I guess that's how Chassidim would translate it. Like that everything's being done only for Hashem. Now there's a question if the Rambam agrees to what the Ramban says. The Yemos HaMashiach has no merit and no choiva. Because in Hilchos Malachim he writes, Yemos HaMashiach, nothing will change. So does that mean we'll still have the desire or not? According to the Ramban, this will all be uprooted from the person, and there will be a change in the world itself. Furthermore, the Rambam cites Shabbos that Shmuel says there's no difference at all. He would seem to be assuming that and stating that there will be continue to be merit and debit. And furthermore, what he says that we'll be able to learn Torah b'chokhmah, and we will merit. Now, if there's no choice, how are we meriting? However, from what the Ramban writes, that there's a Mashiach, we will be like Adam Rishon before the sin, that he had bechira, what he should do or not do, and he sinned in the Chet Eitzadas. That there the kavanah of the Ramban is that it will not be taken away from a person the choice completely. Just like by Adam Rishon, we find that he did have some sort of choice, just that his major nature will be to do good. And so the Maral explains the Ramban that even according to Shmuel, that there's no difference, means that we will not be as physical to be so easily seduced by the evil, but the Yetzer Hara will go away, and we will have the choice to do good. Therefore, according to the Maral, the Rambam and the Ramban do not disagree. Nefesh HaChaim, the Chaim of Chaim Volozhin, explains that before the Chet, a person could sin, just that the Yetzer Hara wasn't within him. It was something from outside. And afterwards, like I said before, it's like shiur shebe'isur, that it goes into the guf, into the physical being, and becomes part of man. The Chochmah and the Nevuah of Melech HaMashiach. The Rambam writes he'll be about Chochmah more than Shlomo Melech, and a greater prophet, close to that of Moshe Rabbeinu. Remember in Nevuchim, he cites regarding wisdom. The Chazal say, by Shlomo it says, Yachkem Mikol Odom, not for Moshe, because he was the of all the, he was the head or the greatest of all the Nevi'im. Only from his generation was Shlomo greater in wisdom. According to the Rambam, it could be that Melech HaMashiach will be greater in wisdom than Shlomo. In the Zohar, on the Posik, V'terev Chochmos Shlomo, that it waxed great. It writes, B'yoymo de Shlomo kaimes sahare b'sheshlomusa. Time of Shlomo HaMelech, the moon was in its completeness, meaning in that so will be in the time of Melech HaMashiach. Thus, the wisdom of Melech HaMashiach is as great as Shlomo. There are places that we could state that since Moshe Rabbeinu understood the Torah Aduma, like in Chazal, Shlomo HaMelech did not comprehend it, and the Shlo writes in Parashas Chukos that therefore in the Ephah Torah, the ashes of the red heifer, there were mixed into it the Ephah of Moshe Rabbeinu, in order that we should understand it. for Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu understood why the side of Pura Aduma. And the Rambam cites that there were 9 Puras Adumois. Rashi says 7, but the Rambam writes 9. First one Moshe Rabbeinu did. The next 8 they did in the second Beis HaMikdash. So one Pura Aduma lasted for 800 years, and the other 8 lasted for 400 years. The 10th Melech HaMashiach will make, and since it's called on his name, certainly Mashiach will comprehend his secret of what Pura Aduma is, just like Moshe Rabbeinu did. And in that he will have greater wisdom than Melech HaMashiach, more than Shlomo.
Okay.
And therefore, since it's called on his name, we see that he will do it on his own. He will understand that which Moshe Rabbeinu comprehended. In Igeres Teimon, the Rambam writes that he will be a Navi Gadol close to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Mashiach will be greater than all of the other prophets except for Moshe Rabbeinu. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give him a uniqueness in certain items which were not delegated to Moshe Rabbeinu. So we see that just like Moshe Rabbeinu's Nevuah was a great darga, a great level, more so than the other prophets, and the type of darga, the level, is different than other Nevi'im, so Melech HaMashiach will be in a level of Nevuah which is greater from Milas HaNevi'im, and a different type than the other prophets. So too Melech HaMashiach will be greater, except for Moshe Rabbeinu, as we find in the Torah, that no one can be greater than Moshe, because there's Lekom Novi Moshe. The Boire, the Creator, set aside Mashiach in certain aspects that even Moshe Rabbeinu did not have them, as we find here Yeshua ve'irichu ve'irichoi v'yiras Hashem, and he will be aromated, if there's such a word. He will have an aroma coming out of him of the fear of Hashem. Not that eyes will judge him, not what you hear, but rather his very existence will elicit the fact that he is Mashiach. Now, his intent here is to emphasize what it says in Perek Vov Halacha Hey. What is this that David HaMelech said? Hashem is correct, therefore he teaches Chatoim the ways. What HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Nevi'im to them, to tell them the ways of Hashem. Therefore, in Perek Dalet Halacha Beis, he writes, Kol HaNevi'im, all of the prophets admonish Israel they should do tshuva. And that's what he means here. That the obligation of the Navi is to tell Darkei Hashem to the people and to return them to do tshuva. Mashiach will be the greatest prophets, and therefore he will be able to teach them Derech Hashem as his obligation as a Navi. Now the Rambam says, what is Olam Haba? Mashiach's Rambam, Maimonides, what's Olam Haba? The Mefarish on the Rambam cites the Ramban. He disagrees on the Rambam. He says ultimately the reward and the goodness that has no end to it, or lack, is in the world to come. That is talking about the world after death, is called Olam HaNeshamas according to the Rambam, as we learned till now. Ultimately, all this schar will be given them, and he brings it from many different sources. There's a Medrash and Bereshis. We'll turn the page. What is the creation of man in this world? It starts off with skin and flesh, skin and flesh, and it gets sinews and bone. So in the future, man will be flesh and meat and have sinews and bones. So we see there's a time that will be when man is resurrected, and a person will have a physical existence. There's a Bryce Yehuda says the harp of the Beis Hamikdash is of 7 strings, as it says Sovas Moses Panecho. Even though it says Sova, which means satiation, you read it Sova, Sheva. The Mashiach will have 8, as it says Lametzeach Beginners and Lashminas. It'll be 8 notes, and that's referring to the 8th string. And Olam Haba, there will be 10, as it says Ali Osa Ali Novel. Ali Osa is a harp made of 10 notes, and since they had vessels, it would seem that it's a world like ours where they have, which has physical aspects. The Ramban says it's not a proof, because the kinnor, the harp, is a hint, the understanding of what a person will comprehend. Meaning, just like music, as it says in Sefer Yetzirah, that voice, speech, and spirit are all things which are referring to actually a higher existence than the physical one. We comprehend, with Ruach HaKodesh, the Chacham comprehend 7 levels. And the 7 arms of the menorah are to tell us this. Now, what karbonos are we talking about? A Musaf Chodesh, Musaf Regolim, that you bring 7, always 7 sheep. Also, Bilam knew of this, therefore he said you should make 7 altars, and he mentions also he brought up on it 7 animals. That is the comprehending the 7 attributes that we can attain in this world before Mashiach. Mashiach comes, we will get one more attribute, one more level. That's Olam. That's the kino, which refers to 8 strings. In the future, we will have all 10, which is Chesed, Geburon, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus, and also Chochma, Bina, Vedas. Furthermore, we find the Medrash on the Posuk, Vayivorach Elokim es Yom HaShvi, that's Olam Haba. The 7th day refers to the 7,000th year, which will start in the year 6001. And he sanctified it, and he set it aside for Klal Yisrael. And Maal's Beis David will be in the 6,000. So we see that Olam Haba only starts in the 7,000. And we find the Gemara in Brochus that Olam Haba is the 7,000th year, has no food, no drink, no jealousy, no competition. The tzaddikim sit with their crowns on their heads, and they benefit from the heavenly divine presence. Further, the Rambam says, what does it mean to benefit from the divine presence? That means that they are satiated, their energy comes from the essence of the divine presence. As it says, I'll be satiated when I'm alert with just seeing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the existence in the future. Just like the spirit is attached to the body in this world through eating and drinking. So we find, we're going to say this in Rosh Hashanah davening, and by the light of the face of the King of life. That gives life. Now, so too, Shekhinah gives life and existence. We find in Shmois Rabbah, we don't have it, but Ramban cites it. They saw on the posuk where it says that we saw Hashem and they ate and drank, that it means actual eating, meaning from the seeing of Hashem. So it says in the Medrash, Moshe Rabbeinu, where did he live from? He was existing. like the chayes which carry the kisei hakoved, that they are literally, that means the malachim literally exist from the glow of the Shekhinah, as it says, "V'atam hachayes kulam." Your existence makes everything exist. Just that the nefesh, when it will be attached, like the malachim, at the level of the malachim, because the soul, when it gets together with the upper thoughts, is existing like the malachim, and the uplifting of the nefesh on the physical nullifies the power of the physical to desire, till up to the point even where the physical can exist without food and drink. Just like Moshe in Har Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. So too, the people in Olam Haba. So said Eliyahu Novi, that he remained with the physical body attached to his neshama till today. How can the physical body exist from this existence of Hashem? As we find in the Medrash, that actually his physical being even became a fiery essence. And he's called a malach metat. Now we see those who are pure of the soul, they seem to exist with very little food, like the generation of the Midbar, that they lived from them on. And how much did they have? They had a kazayas, and therefore the generation of the Midbar were able to attain not only their own elevation, but be able to say zekelim anveyu, that they saw things that other generations couldn't see, and they elevated themselves to that point that they were worthy of seeing and receiving them on. Now, Moshe, his soul went up so high that he didn't need them on, and his guf was existing with the Shechin and the Yisoid earlier. The Ramban continues. We learn in Mechilta. When it comes to by the Mon, the Parashas Mon says you won't find it today in the field. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, today you won't find it, but you'll find it tomorrow. Eliezer ben Chisma says, this world you won't find it, but you'll find it in the future. And this can be explained in two ways. One, that they will be people who will have Olam Haba, meaning that they will benefit from the aura of the Shekhinah, and they will, even those who do not reach that level, they will need physical existence, like the Bnei Ador HaMidbar. They will still have the Mon. They will have an existence from Mon. Two, that it means like Eliezer Machisma, that the people of the world to come will be able to live from that which the Mon gave sustenance. In other words, the very essence of the Mon, which was Ziv HaShechina. The Ramban says in the Gemara in Sanhedrin 92b, the Mason, those who died, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will resurrect in Trias HaMesim, will never die again. And those 1,000 years, when the world will be renewed, where everything will be in abeyance, they will have sort of like wings with which they will hover, and they will be on Pnei Amoyim, on the face of the waters, that the soul will be like angelic, and so the physical body will join with it. It will never be ever taken apart, as it says in Kedushin 39b, that you will have long life in a world that's totally lengthy, that has no end to it. But however, the Rambam explains in Perek Ches Halacha Aleph that that's referring to the world after death, and not like the Rav and the Ramban that explain that this is when the world is going to be resurrected. The dead are going to be resurrected. And he brings another proof that the strength of the soul will be greater than the physical body. It will be attached to the intelligence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that nullifies the strength of the guf, the physical desires, from the fact that the face of Moshe began to glow, as it says that there was light emanating from the face of Moshe Rabbeinu. He was like the sun. In Bava Basra it says Pnei Moshe is like the light of the sun, whereas Pnei Yeshua was a reflection of Moshe, like the moon. And the Medrash says on Pinchas, whenever the spirit of Kedusha would come upon him, his face would light like with fire. And we see when the soul is attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the very physical being changes. Birgit Abelezer, Berg Beis says in Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol, when he would expound what Ma'aseh Bereshis, what creation was, there were shafts of light going out, just like by Moshe Rabbeinu. And people, it's lit up, you couldn't tell if it was day or night. And the Sifri says that the Bnei Tzadikim in the future will be similar to the moon and to the sun and to the stars and to the thunders and to the menorah of the Beis HaMikdash. These are the 7 levels that we will get to them. Each one according to his level, to his darga, to his own level. And Rambam says, and if we still cannot comprehend how this can be so, we have to believe that it will be so, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows how existence is more than we can possibly contemplate. Now, we finish with Ramban's explanation of the world to come. So we see there's 3 places where we have reward. Gan Eden, which is the Olam HaNeshomis, the world of the souls after death. 2, when Mashiach will come, when the world is still in existence. 3, at the end of the Mashiach will be Tchias HaMeisim. That's Olam Haba. However, the Rambam differentiates a little bit. And we'll see in the Payat, Ein HaOel Hashem Elokeinu, we have 4 worlds. Olam Hazeh, which is our times. Ein Zeloscho is Chai Olam Haba, which technically should be the world of Neshomets. Eretz B'Tachol HaMeisim Mashiach is the 3rd world, which is when Mashiach comes. Tchias HaMeisim is the 4th time, which will be after Mashiach. So we'll see the Baal HaPayat is of the opinion like the Rambam, that Olam Haba is not when Tchias HaMeisim is, but rather right after death. But we should live in this world and be zecher to see Tchias HaMeisim in this world and have a ksiva Torah.